Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to 10 more tips for railways and trains in OpenTTD. Now this will be the last tips video that I do in my OpenTTD tutorial series, but I will be doing some more tips on not just OpenTTD but other fantastic free games in a new short series, so keep an eye out for that. Right then, 10 tips. First up, we have the recommendation to build two separate stations at industries that have both an input and an output. Here we have a steel mill, and this steel mill takes goods in and has goods out. It takes iron ore in and provides steel out. And you can see over here we have two trains waiting at one of the stations to load with steel coming out of the steel mill. Now, the reason why we do two separate stations is because if your platforms are all full, as both of these platforms are down here, with trains loading, then new trains can't come in to deliver the iron ore. And if you don't deliver the iron ore into the steel mill, you will not then get any steel, and these trains will just sit here forever, blocking the station and stopping your input coming in. By having a separate station for iron ore to come in, you ensure that all the platforms are available so that you can drop off the iron ore and get the iron ore through into your steel mill and out into the trains that need it. Now, most people know that you can click on a track and place a signal, and a lot of people know that you can then drag along the line and it will place signals at regular intervals according to the number on the signal selection screen. Not everybody knows that you can place a signal and then drag along the line but hold control and then the signals get placed all along the line. Now if you didn't know that, you do now, but I think it's a really good technique to use, and here's the tip in particular, because if you have got a railway line like this, you can click on the line, place your signals and drag them down the line like this and go to the other end. And if there are signals missing, you know you've made a mistake, because the signals will only go until there's a break in the track or until there's a junction or something. So if I go back along my line, you can see, yep, I've missed a piece of track here and my signals did not continue, and I can carry on putting them down all the way to the other end. So use the click and drag technique to validate your lines and then put in more junctions and things afterwards. Get those signals in to check all your bits. Now at number 3, we've got what I call the forbidden track. So here we have a station, and in front of it there's a couple of depots. This is what I call double depots. And if you're using path signals, it allows trains to both enter one depot while another train is exiting the other depot. It increases throughput if you're not putting depots off your line. But there is a piece of track which is bad, and it's the one that's highlighted in red now. This piece of track is not necessary for the trains to be able to enter and exit the depots, but it's worse than that. If a train gets lost for some reason on your line and it ends up in this particular place, it can end up going backwards and forwards between those two depots, not knowing where to go. If you remove that piece of track, the train has no choice but to continue down the line, even though it's still lost. And if it continues down the line, it can very often find its way back to where it was supposed to be going. So get rid of that piece of track and help your trains find their way again. Now, we spoke earlier about signals along the line and the spacing, and spacing is actually quite important. So you can see here we've got two different lines. One of them has a signal spacing of 2 and the other one has a longer signal spacing of about 6. And what I've done is I set up a load of trains in each of the depots to run. Your shorter signal spacing allows better throughput on your lines. Let me show you what I mean. If I unpause the game, trains will come out of the depot. And you can see that with the longer signal spacing, trains have to wait a longer period of time and have a longer gap between them. Okay, so on one line, we've got probably about 3 trains passing down it, but on the other line, we've managed to fit 4 trains passing along it. This increased throughput is important on your lines for getting as much trains down your track as nicely as possible. So keep your signals nice and close together. Go into your signal screen and select it to maybe 1, 2 or 3. Now there's an exception to this. If you're playing with infrastructure maintenance turned on, you may want to consider a larger signal spacing, because every signal you have on your network is going to cost you money. So it depends. You've got to balance the bank on that one, but it's not turned on by default. So if you're not playing with infrastructure maintenance, get loads of signals on there. Here's a tip for when you are designing junctions. Do not cross your tracks. So we have a main line here where trains might be going up and down, and perhaps there's a particular service that goes off on this branch line. What you don't want to do is come in here and do something like this. Here, this one is okay. The two lines merge and carry on down the line, but here, where my mouse cursor is now, the lines are crossing, the tracks are crossing, and this will cause trains to slow down. It's bad for throughput, especially if the lines are busy lines. So when a train wants to come up the line and turn right, any train that's coming down is going to have to stop and wait. We want to try and get rid of this. One way I like to get rid of them is with a bridge or tunnel on the main line and then slip off. So if we just take out a section of track somewhere down here like this, okay, what we can do is just put a little tunnel in like this, and then we can come off the line up to where we want to be like this, restore the main line, and then we can have our other track join nearby, something like this. There we go. Now we need to pop some signals on there. Let's put well, the signal over here is fine, and a signal before the merge there. There we go. Now you can see now our side line is connected to our main line, and none of the tracks are crossing. They split and join, and that's it. And this is much better for throughput. If you've got side lines going off main lines, I highly recommend this way of doing it. This next one might be a little controversial, but it is: don't convert your entire network to monorail. That is because the earliest steam trains and indeed the diesel trains can run on your electric railway when you upgrade. You can upgrade your entire network and you won't have any problems. You can't do that with monorail. You have to get rid of your existing trains, convert your track, and then put new trains on it. And then, a mere 20 years later, you have the option to go to maglev. Maglev is just outright better, and 20 years might sound like a long time, but in the grand scheme of the game, it's not that much. If you start with the earliest steam train, an OpenTTD game can be more than 125 years long. So, 20 years in the middle to convert your entire network and replace all your vehicles, and then only to do it again? No, I don't think so. If I were you, maybe the odd dedicated line for monorail, but don't convert your entire network, wait for maglev. The next is to do a bidirectional route. This is where you have a pickup and a drop-off, and then you have a second pickup and a drop-off in the opposite direction, so that you're delivering cargo both ways. There's an example of one here in this game. You can see down here we've got trains coming in. Those trains will have coal loaded up. They drop it off at the power station and then very quickly go over to a coal mine and load back up again. Then they travel the long distance across the map to another power station to drop off their coal, and very quickly to another coal mine to pick it back up again. The long journey each way is the journey where the train is full, so the train is full in both directions. It's only empty for the little bit between the power station and coal mine. It doesn't have to be coal, you can do other things as well, but look out for bidirectional opportunities on your maps so that you are not returning empty and you're full in both directions. Don't put signals right on the exit of your junctions. Here you can see we've got a simple junction, and we're going to pretend that this piece of line where the train is trying to go is busy for some reason, and the signal is just there red. This train is sat waiting at the signal to exit down that line, but you can see that the body of the train is blocking other parts of the junction. This is why you shouldn't put a signal right on the edge. So if we have a train that wants to go in another direction and come down the track, you can see that it's going to come up to the junction and stop because our other train is in the way. Now, if you leave a gap in your signals after the junction, the train will either wait in that section, in that actual gap, if the line up ahead is busy, or the train will wait before entering the junction block. It won't go through and make it all busy, so that when you have a train coming the other way and it wants to go down the line, it can go down the line and go through the junction without being blocked by the trains that are waiting. And that is because we have left the gap of signals on the exit of at least one train length to be able to allow for this to happen. Our penultimate tip is to go up one incline at once within a train's length. Now, there are situations where some trains will be able to go up multiple without slowing down, but if we run this demonstration here, we unpause the game, you can see we've got two trains racing. We've got train 7 and train 6, and they're exactly the same trains, but except one of them's going to go up a big hill and one of them's going to go up a small hill. And you'll be able to see that the train that's going up the big hill has a big slowdown in its speed down to 50, where train 7 just stayed at 76 as it continued on down the line. Right, and in fact train 6 down here has gone down to 36 kilometers per hour. So going up multiple pieces of hill all at the same time really does affect many trains. Like I said, there's some situations where it doesn't. So how would you manage with going up multiple pieces of hill? Well, ideally, if you've got the money for it, you would get a train length's worth of flat land, okay, before you then had a land height change, and then you do another train's length of land before you have a height change, and another train's length of land before you have a height change. Okay, this for me is the best way of dealing with it. Like I say, some powerful trains that are shorter will not have a problem with maybe 2 or 3 slopes, but really, to kind of cover all your bases, if you do it like this, your trains won't slow down very much at all. So this last tip is for free extra profit. The game has grid lines. You can see them going in this direction and in this direction too, in an isometric sort of view. Now, if you were going from this town to this town, the game will calculate the distance along those grid lines. It's called Manhattan distance. So it will go along the line and then the other way, working out how much money you get for going along that line of distance. But if you go diagonally across there, you can make more money. Okay, so for example, down here we've got Trundimbury, where I have a town, and then right below my camera over here, Mundingworth Falls. Okay, so you can see that the railway line between these guys goes mostly completely diagonal across the screen, and then for the last bit it follows the grid lines. For the section that goes diagonal, the game's going to be calculating the longer distance down this way and across there. Those two lines, down this way 1 and across there 2, is going to add up. 1 plus 2 is going to be greater than this line here, the 3, the hypotenuse of the triangle. So you will essentially be taking a shortcut compared to what the game is calculating. And because you went a shorter distance but it didn't realise, you end up with more profit. So find those routes across the map where you can go diagonally across as much as possible and you will get bonus profit. So there we go, some more OpenTTD tips. Remember, tips will be coming out as shorts on the channel, so check out them when they come. But I will also be doing more tutorial videos in the future, both on OpenTTD and on other fantastic free games, so get subscribed for that. If you've got any questions, put all your thoughts, ideas and those questions down in the comment section and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching, take care, and for now, goodbye.